One. Giovanna, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so you're a filmmaker in the Philadelphia area?
Yes.
So
Yes.
why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. Well, interesting fact about me is that I moved into the US from Italy around, I would say, 8 years ago. And I wasn't able to speak English, like
8
at
years.
all.
So 8 years
Yeah.
ago, you learned to master the language.
Yes, zero. And it was a problem, because I couldn't afford lessons and I couldn't afford to go to school. So I just bought a lot of books and movies and trying to, learn English that way. Netflix was my best friend.
Yeah.
I started by watching movies that were famous in Italy, and I watched them in Italian, and I watched them in English, and comparing the both, just getting an idea of what each word meant and why they used it in the same context.
So English language movies that were popular in Italy.
Yes.
Or American movies.
Exactly.
Okay.
I used those first, and then I moved into other things. But you can probably imagine. I learned the hard way that Americans have something called slang.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be.
So I heard it the hard way, when I start talking to people and I was using words from movies and people would get offended. And I had no idea why.
What, like
One
you
of the
said,
words I had most problems with was burger. So every time I would go to a diner, I would just sweat because, I had to say burger. But with my pronunciation at that time, which was a lot worse, it was booger.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine, right, the amount of shame every time I had to order one. I went with chicken then. But besides that, I started watching a lot of movies, and I always loved movies. So I got into it, and 3 to 4 years ago, I applied for a mentorship program with Rocco Mikaluk. And he's worked in Hollywood, and he's now in Collingswood, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And he's a producer. I applied for this mentorship program, and I honestly, the first thing I had to do was writing a short script in English. So I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna get into this thing, but I actually did. He loved the script. We made it happen. I got into the program. We filmed it. I produced, I wrote, and I actually, put everything, cast, crew, everything together. I did casting calls. I did everything. I made it happen, and I won my first award with it. And it was my first short film.
Fantastic.
I was really proud. It's that kind of moment where you're like, wow, I came from actually like not being able to speak English
mm-hmm.
to win an award for a movie that I wrote.
And it was an English language film.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was like, that made me so proud. And from that moment, I start writing to the point where in a very short amount of time, I had 3 features, one web series, which is actually out right now, and a couple of shorts that won awards as well. So yeah, that's pretty much me, and a short version of a very complicated life.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what are the features and the web series?
The features are scripts right now.
Okay.
They're not out yet, but I have a couple of them in festivals. So, fingers crossed. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. The web series?
The web series is Misadventures of Life. It's out on YouTube, free for everybody to watch. And it's a little funny, story of a group of very diverse people that struggle with life. Like, you know, those moments in life where you're like, why me? Like, why this is happening to me?
Yeah.
Imagine if that happens to a group of people at the same time, and these misadventures actually bring them together.
Yeah.
So that's what the web series is about. And it's another project I'm really proud of. It was my second project. So right after that short, there was a web series. And, you know, for a second project, I'm really proud of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. You know, like as far as the web series go and nowadays, I think that's what we're going to see a lot of is, you know, new media and, you know, new takes on old storytelling. But yeah, that's fantastic. And obviously people want to see that is that these misadventures in life.
Yes.
But so,
you know, it makes you laugh and makes you think, well, it's not just me then.
yeah.
Other people actually struggle with these things. The
Yeah,
amount of people that wrote me and said, oh, that happened to me like exactly the same way. It's impressive.
that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I know me and some of my colleagues would have a number of maybe some ideas or stories to just give to you. And they're bizarre, but you know, they're ridiculous. And there's no way to get yourself or prepare for, you know, something like some of these things where just the other day, so you know, every night me and the wife will go to sleep and we'll put on Netflix and we'll either watch, or Hulu, we'll either watch The Office or Seinfeld, or you know, I think that's pretty much it. We fall asleep just in front of one of those two shows. We always keep the remote in between us, you know, because like as it gets further and further on through the night, we'll turn it down more, or we have to hit next or whatever, you know, just to fall asleep. And so for years, me and the wife always just placed the remote right in between us. And somehow a couple nights ago, the remote got tangled up in the sheets. And so I get up to go use the bathroom, get a glass of water, whatever. I come in and I pull the sheets over me, and this remote was slingshotted right into my eye.
Oh.
At 3 a.m. I don't know what the hell's going on. I swat whatever it is away. You know, if it was the dog kicking me, if the wife like, you know, did a jerk arm in the middle of the night and punched me. So I swatted away and the remote goes flying across the room, smashes against the wall, batteries all over the place. And now it's 3 a.m. She's freaking out. I'm like swollen. And now I'm like, the second I swat it away, the second I start swatting it away and the remote, you know, is in my hand, kind of like this. I knew it was the remote as it was flying across the room. And I said, great, the TV won't work. The remote's going to be busted. How are we going to get, you know, a new remote for this? But I found the batteries. I put it together. It still works. Thank God. But
remotes are amazing things. I swear. I think I broke mine so many times. Just put it together and it works again.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, especially for these remotes, for these smart TVs, they must be smart remotes, and they know how to, like, you know, take a hit. But yeah, I got a nice little shiner from a remote out of nowhere.
Wow.
for years. And you know, it's not as tragic. You ever seen $1 Million Baby?
Yes, of course.
And every time they had a boxing match, he would put that bench out there for her to sit on. He would put that bench out there for her to sit on. They kept focusing on that. And then at the end, you know, spoiler alert, I don't know if everybody's out there, you know, I don't
Probably
know.
We're spoiling it.
Well, let me put a spoiler alert, because I only have 10. I only have like 5 views, you know, so no one ever watches this anyway.
That is not true. I
but,
watched it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, you had to prep. That's different. But you know, they kept showing him put this little stool in the ring, and then finally at the end, you know, she falls on it. And it's like, you know, for 3 years, we put this remote dead center between us. Just keep the remote there. And then it becomes this smaller one. And it's got like this really sharp edge on it too, on the front. Actually, I have another TV just like it. So it's got like this.
Oh, that is.
Let me see if I could, you know, like it's got.
No,
like
I can totally see that.
This
that
edge.
Must have been painful.
And that's exactly where it hit me. And now I got a nice shine.
Horrible.
And it's like the misadventures of life. Now people are like, what the hell happened to your eye? And if I tell them the truth, they're going to think I'm lying, that I'm, my wife's beating me
Yeah,
up.
she beat you or something. I know,
Yeah.
something like crazy like that.
And
well, I have one of my misadventures. Since you shared yours, I'm gonna share mine, if that's okay with you.
yeah, absolutely.
It's still related to my accent, and you know how sometimes you go out with friends and you get a beer, so your speech gets a little bit,
Slurred.
yeah.
Mhm.
So imagine mine.
On top of the accent, now you have a slurred
Exactly.
accent.
It's terrible.
Uh-huh.
But with friends, I don't care, whatever. I was telling a story, and you know how Italians tend to get a little loud.
Uh-huh.
So my story started to get a little loud in the restaurant. And I was telling this story that I lived in Jacksonville, and my house at that time was really close to the beach. Now, I don't need to tell you what word came out instead of that.
Uh-huh.
In a very loud way. So I told them that I had my own private,
Your own private bitch.
yes.
I can say,
loud
hey,
inside the restaurant.
The show can be PG-13 if you.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yes. I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to say something you had to like beat me or something.
No, I won't believe.
Say the Italian lady. No, but yeah. I said I had my own private bitch in Florida, so everybody stopped. Like I was so loud that everybody stopped, and the table in front of me were this couple just having dinner, and one of these couple that like whisper when they have dinner. So they turn around, they looked at me, and like they stared right at me. The waitress was laughing so hard she had to put the tray down on my table.
Yeah.
And I think everybody understood that I meant to say something else. I hope. But it was all laughter in that restaurant.
Yeah.
And it was truly embarrassing.
Well, you raise a good point, because when I was a kid, my dad took me overseas to Germany, France, Belgium, some countries like that. And I guess when my dad was growing up, my dad traveled, even before I was born, my dad traveled. And there was always this stereotype Americans had, shitty Americans, or, dirty Americans, or something like that, that when we're over there, we're unaccepting of this, that, and the other thing. Foreigners that are in this country that have a thick accent, or, don't know customs, we give them a bad attitude, we give them a rash of shit for it. And I think, as I've grown up, I've seen this country be very progressive. At least, we started to be very, very progressive, I want to say in the 90s, starting with maybe, Bill Clinton as president. And we really started kicking a very progressive attitude, very accepting attitude. Things really started to change, I think, in the mid to late 90s. Well, they started to change. And I think especially now, so people get that now. And people are coming to the realization that America is nothing if just a country of immigrants. And there is a standard. I mean, listen, you have a thick Italian accent, but that's from the country of Italy. But America has probably 17 different accents just within, there's a New York accent, there's Southern accent. You can tell a Louisiana accent from a Texas accent, from, you can even, if you're, American and you've lived in America for, I'm past 40, and I can tell an Alabama accent from a Louisiana accent, but to you it might sound similar, but I'm sure you can obviously tell the difference between a Southern accent and a New York accent, or a California accent, or way up north, Wisconsin, Minnesota almost trying to be Canada accent, because then they kind of take their accents from Canada and things of that nature. I mean, this country has a million of its own accents. And so I think, I don't know when the private bitch, incident happened, but yeah, sure. I mean, right out the ear, someone's going to turn around and be like, what the hell? But they might.
Yes, exactly.
But then they might hear you talking more.
It was still embarrassing for me, because
sure,
even the way I phrased it, it kind of framed me, because it was totally wrong. Yeah. But But yeah, I mean, you know, you just shake it off and move on.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I think this country is coming along in such a way that we're definitely progressing a lot in so many arenas where I don't think I kind of get I kind of get where, you know, it might have been a struggle, but I don't think I think we're progressing to where it's not going to be that much of a struggle in the future. Uh, if any, you
No,
know, yeah.
but I mean, it was worse when I first moved here.
Yeah.
Like I had people asking me if like my dad was in the mafia, or if I owned a gun, or you know, if in Italy we had cars, or we used donkeys.
Oh, okay.
See, so and they were serious, like asking me these questions.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that generalizes and says, "Oh, Americans ask me these questions." No, I say ignorant people ask me these questions because I want to believe that Americans know that we don't move with donkeys in Italy. I mean,
Right.
you know, we have cars. Most of them, actually, you have a lot of Italian brand cars here. You know, Alfa Romeo and Maserati. So yeah, no, we definitely don't move with donkeys.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't like to usually say Italian people do this or Americans do this, because we can't even group people. Like I've noticed in your culture, a lot of people tend to group things.
Sure.
Like you know, even right now we're having issues like the black people and the gay people and the trans people, and you know, I'm like, well, yeah, but in this group there's millions of different beings that are completely different to each other. How can you group them
Right.
just for one thing?
Yeah.
You know,
Because each gay person is totally unique in their own way, and
exactly.
each
And you know, each
black
black
person is
person, and I
totally,
have a
yeah.
lot of friends that are,
Yeah.
you know, of color, and they're all different.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
all different. Some of them, they have different jobs, they have different cultures, they come from different states. It's just different.
Yeah.
So I don't tend to group people, but when, you know, they ask me these questions, I'm like, oh. Then I group them in the ignorant group.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been guilty. I've been guilty of asking those questions for not the reason that the person thought. So there was a buddy of mine in college. He was black, and we were talking about something, this, that, and the other thing. And we get around to guns, and he says, "I've never shot a gun in my life." Now, to me, I knew his dad was a cop or was an ex-cop, and my dad was an ex-cop. So I looked at him and was like, "You've never shot a gun before?" And he got offended. He goes, "Why? Because I'm black? You think we all shoot guns?" And I'm like, "No, because your dad's an ex-cop. My dad's an ex-cop, and a couple of other buddies of mine whose dads are cops or ex-cops. Our dads used to take us to the range like all the time." And he goes, "Oh no, my dad never did that." But right there, you know, that could have affected our friendship. He thought I was asking him an ignorant question, like, "Oh,
Exactly.
you're a black guy. All black guys shoot guns, you know, because of this, that, and the other thing." I'm like, "No, dude, because your dad's a cop. Your dad never."
Yeah, we live in a society where, unfortunately, there is this system and this way of seeing people, and sometimes we get so focused into that
Yeah.
we forget that we're the same. We really are. You know, we go through the same struggles, we get heartbreak, we suffer grief, we suffer the same things, we go through the same things. For some reason, some people feel superior sometimes, and because of these people, we all get defensive, and we all get, you know, in that kind of situation where we need to protect ourselves. But
Right.
it's, yeah, and it I don't know, I don't see it that way. I usually try not to judge as much as I can.
Yeah.
Like I've heard things from people even on set, you know, when you get like the sound guy making a joke that is really highly inappropriate, but you are like, yeah, you know, okay, whatever, dude, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. No.
It's just the way it is.
And
And
yeah. And so, you know, it was, I, I kind of have that knee jerk, have to ask this question. Didn't realize, not in sort of the same way that it was, you know, like ignorant people will ask you dumb shit, not only because they're ignorant, but also because they're impulsive. I think is the word I'm looking for. It's impulsive. It's impulsivity. Oh, do you have mafia family? Oh, do you guys have cars? Like who? But for me, I was impulsive, but my whole reasoning for asking that question was totally based on my specific upbringing, not his. I know your dad's a cop or was a cop. Same here. You've never shot a gun before. Your dad never took you to the range. Your dad never took you out with like other, you know, cop families to like, you know, a pistol range or a barbecue or some nonsense. And he was like, oh no, never that. And I was like, of course, you know, my reasoning for asking wasn't that, but still I was
There's this thing when you ask a question that might sound a little offensive. There is that defensive response that can be kind of brutal. You know, it's like a slingshot.
Yeah,
it gets right at you. And my answer when they asked me, you know, if my parents had a donkey, you know, because they didn't know if they had cars in Italy. Well, the way they asked was a lot more, you know, offensive. So my answer was, well, you know, they don't right now, but there's a job opening if you want one. See,
okay.
I mean, because he acted like one, he could definitely get that job. But what I'm saying is I regretted my answer. I know right now, you know, thinking straight, I know that I could have said a lot of polite things and be the better person and move on. But that was like a slingshot. You know, it was like a reaction answer. You can't control those things.
Yeah.
You feel attacked and you defensively shut it back. And I did. And your friend did too, you know, he was like, well, you're saying this because I'm Black. It's a way of defending ourselves.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And, you know, I felt bad. I wasn't offended in his response. You know, I didn't want to lose him as a friend. He was also a colleague, a fellow film student and a colleague, and we were working on projects. And I said, oh no, dude, like, and I explained it. And then I was like, plus he was older than me. But I was like, but seriously, dude, you've never shot a gun before? Like, you're older than me. He goes, no, man, I never did. I'm like, well, all right, well, maybe we should go to the range. And of course, you know, honestly, it had nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with like stereotypes of where he was from. But I mean, when he had that slingshot impulsive response, I took no offense. I was like, well, you know, let's slow down here. That's not what it was. And yada, yada, yada. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, before you ask, since, I mean, there's all mafia talk, I never shot a gun either.
Okay.
Just so you know, just putting it out there.
You never had to put down one of your donkeys and put it out of its misery?
No, you know, we have people for that. Okay. My people.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, there's, like I said, I think, you know, this country, and I've had these conversations a number of times about this country, and it's still a young country. We're still progressing, and I think we're heavily progressive now. And we're trying to fast forward, you know, to move past a lot of this, a lot of those issues. And I think it's a good thing. And I've had, you know, some people are complaining that maybe we're getting forced exception and forced exposure to this, that, and the other thing. And I say, you know, so what? In the long run, you're not being forced to live your life a certain way. You're being exposed and expected to be accepting of others, but no one's telling you that you have to live your life except for within the means of the law, I guess. But, you know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, but how would you say you've been impacted by these current affairs professionally? We can start off professionally, but how would you?
The COVID?
Yeah, you know, the quarantine and the.
When right before Governor Wolf, governor of Pennsylvania, decided to put Pennsylvania on a lockdown, we were working on pre-production on my last short, Double Faced. And we were so ready, like everything was ready right there. We were supposed to shoot, we had the date, we were getting ready. And then all of a sudden, Governor Wolf decided to put the lockdown right on that date. I mean, you're a filmmaker, you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
You work
Yeah.
6 months on a project, you get everything ready, and then right when you were right there, it's gone.
The rug's pulled right out from under you. Yeah, absolutely.
There was a lot of rescheduling, a lot of people complaining. Some people wanted to do it anyway. Some people didn't even want to get close to people.
Yeah.
So it was just madness, you know, and you just get thrown in the middle of it because everybody expects you to have the answer for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So my decision was put it on hold, wait it out just to see, because this lockdown, this pandemic was new for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going to happen in like 2 weeks or 3 months or 5 years. So I said, let's wait it out. Let's see what happens. And we just have to be ready. So let's not go back to the way, you know, and start all over again. We just stop right here and wait it out. And when our window opens, we just film it and we just get it over with.
Yeah.
Now I knew there were going to be obstacles because a pandemic, it's something that, you know, you have to deal with on set. So I started, you know, doing research, going on the CDC website and trying to, you know, get a big picture of this whole thing. I came out with a plan. I wrote a plan. Mask. I made sure I had masks, sanitizer. I had to reduce my crew. So you know what that means, right? The little few that were left had to work 5 times more.
Mm-hmm.
Then like my cinematographer had to be gaffer and grip. And my sound guy, like, it was insane.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, we have to film it. So we're gonna make it happen. We will just have to work extra. And we did. And when our window opened, because we were on a yellow phase, I believe, we just got out there. I tweaked the script in a way where I didn't have the need to have more than 3 people on set, like as actors, because actors obviously cannot wear masks. So I tried to make it work in a way where we were all safe, but the movie happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you make certain choices, you don't want to lose quality on your story.
Right.
Because that's the most important thing. So I had to really think about each step, each change that I made, how it would impact the rest of the story. We were truly happy with it. I think it went great. Double Face. The thing that worked in my favor is that this short film talked about mental illness, and my protagonist has a lot of conversation with himself. So that worked in our favor. Most of the time on set, we had only 1 actor, sometimes 2. The only one time I actually tweaked the script a little bit and made the scene outdoors so that the extras will feel more comfortable about being in a group. Mm-hmm. At a certain distance. So we had to do blocking thinking about COVID, you know, like you already didn't have enough problems when you do blocking, right? Mm-hmm. You had to think about, you know, 6 feet apart and whatever it is. It was a challenge. We made it through. We're editing right now. And let's hope for the best.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like, you know, you pulled through and you know, what little experience I had, luckily I had a couple of projects that are already, not even with COVID or quarantine in mind. I did a number of production hacks already, simply due to budget reasons. You know, ultra. I don't know if they have a bar so low on the SAG scale for us, but you know, super ultra low budget, and you know, we found a way to do, you know, some superhero stuff, but in a way the production was done with a lot of the based on the way a lot of those independent low budget crime shows are shot on ID reels and stuff like that, investigation discovery and those sort of things. And so, you know, we were able to bang out 12 episodes of a web series within a matter of a month, due to having, you know, a couple guys come over, and then I would have somebody else come over another day, and it was only on weekends. And then I found a way to figure out how to mic and shoot myself, having had them come over and do measurements and make markings on the on the floor, and, you know, taking notes on this measurement, that measurement, and then I would do the focus myself and light myself, and then I was able to shoot myself. And then, and this was even before quarantine, so I have it in the can, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I got to get around to editing this thing, but I've got gig. I'm on set. I'm acting. I'm either acting here, or I'm behind the camera there, or I'm doing a live event, or I'm doing live streaming. So it was just finding time to, you know, sit down and edit. And then once we were told to, you know, shelter in place, you know, I was like, hell, it's time to edit. And I want to say, you know, from March 12th to April 12th, I was out of work. And so that whole month was, you know, family time, you know, wife and baby time, and editing everything that I had in the can. And then luckily, you know, I was able to get some telework, and I've been teleworking since then, and also deciding to do this. And obviously, you know, with Zoom, it's, you know, just production hacks. And, but having had that in the can prior saved even more time, because then
that is true. Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for with this short, that I would actually get to film it before, you know, this all happened, but I didn't. I made it work anyway. It's taking longer. Filming took longer. Everything is like stretching in time. So I had to work on the schedule again, you know, instead of like, I'm lucky because when I schedule something, I like to put like a 5-minute setup time between shots. I always do that. And I've been told, but that's a lot of time. And I'm like, no, you see it. Because if I schedule a day with 5 minutes setup time from one shot to another, and I get you a full day filming that you want, then if we have extra time, everybody's happy. We go home early, we cheer, Joe is great, you know, like all that stuff. But if I put like 2 minutes of setup time and we go overboard, then we start getting late, and then people start complaining, and we're all unhappy. It's just an unhappy group of people that just want to get it done. And that's not how I work. So to me, scheduling with those 5 minutes in between shots might be a lot, but I believe that in the, you know, final picture, it's a better way to do it. And that helped me with COVID a lot, because our setup time was a lot longer.
Yeah. And I just got certified as a COVID compliance officer, so I know what you're talking about. And I have experience as an AD. So yeah, I get it. As far as they gotta, you gotta, once they arrive, you gotta take their temperature, and then you gotta sanitize everything, and there's gotta be space, and yeah, all the factors that just go into this new COVID compliance.
You know, the poor makeup artists, they have to reset every time they do, you know, one actor. And while before it was like, yeah, let's keep everything out in the open and, you know, and work on them. Now it's like, no, I gotta get one at a time, and it takes time. And people don't get that. It's just a lot of time. And for us, like you said, you know, ultra low budget kind of productions, where you are really, if you miss the deadline, or if you miss the day and you have to pick another day to shoot, for us, that's money that we don't have most of the time. So you want to try to make it in the schedule, and, you know, be prepared for everything bad that could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how about personally, you know, the family or relationships, how's that been affected?
Oh, well, My family's back in Italy. My whole family, my mom, dad, my sister, my brother, which they're gonna watch this. So you're gonna get a lot more people watching this.
Okay.
They are all in Italy. So for me, when I heard that Italy was hit pretty bad, and I was here, it was bad. I wanted to make sure they were okay, and at the same time, I'm a single parent. I live alone with my daughter. She's 9. So I'm doing this whole work, follow your dream, pay rent, and homeschool. And there are not enough hours in a day to do all of that. So let's just say I don't get much sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm making it. I love challenge. I just, like I said, I mean, I came here that I wasn't able to speak English. To me, challenges are not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that just make you better at the end, and it's something you have to work on.
Yeah.
Without challenges, we're very boring. But like I said, yeah, having my family there, mostly when in Italy was really, really bad. It was a bad experience. I have my mom is I'm the youngest of like 3, and my mom is not young, and she has some health issues. So knowing that she was over there, and I had struggle with that. It's tough.
Yeah, I know Italy was a hotspot for a while,
Yes.
and yeah.
And
me and
then
the
we became the hotspot.
Yeah.
And my mom was worried about me. We just didn't catch a breath. But I don't know. I feel like I'm leaving this COVID one day at a time, and like, trying to face difficulties one day at a time and just move forward. But I did have that moment, like you said, where, I was home, I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I had a lot of time to write. That was my thing. You edited and I was writing. A lot of people think that writing, oh wow, yes, this quarantine is going to be great for writers. No, it's not. It's
No.
like you have a COVID brain while you're trying to write, and there are no ideas. There's no stimulation of your imagination. It's just it's just a blob.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but now I have to say I started writing again, and I'm in the flow. So I'm just happy.
Yeah, I get that, and I was able to write a whole slew of things for a little while, but as the kid was getting older and we were getting more hands-on, and now with daycare and more paid telework, is starting to fill the schedule. There's less time for the podcast and there's less time for the writing. I still have maybe 3 different projects in the can that I gotta cut up and put out, and I thought I was going to be able to knock these things out right away, and then the next thing I know, we're blessed, and we're staying busy and employed, and of course
that's the good part.
And that's the good part, and I kind of have to maintain that balance. And so I was able to get a lot of writing done and finish up some scripts and some outlines of other things. But now it's just with what's finished, it's like, okay, let's wait for the floodgates to open. Let's wait for plenty of time for me to put out feelers and pitch people, kind of loosely quarantine pitch people. And just put out, just put this stuff out there. Let people, check it out. And
I'm using Festival for that as well with my scripts. Like I said, I have a bunch of features. I have shorts. They're all ready, or I think they're ready. You know how it is, right? But I think for us it's so hard right now because like pitching, you said like pitching, right? It's already hard to maintain the attention while you pitch in person.
Yeah.
Pitching on Zoom is like, yeah, I mean, coffee, hey kid, like move around. And meanwhile, you're trying to pitch and it's like your whole life depends on it. And people are just looking everywhere.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just an uncomfortable way of pitching. That's all I'm saying. It's
I'm doing live streaming of virtual conferences for these corporations, these associations, industrial corporate virtual live streaming conferences through Zoom. And these are like CEOs of this foundation or CEOs of this pharmaceutical company still yelling at their dog or their kid to get out of the room while they're on Zoom. It's like,
that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so uncomfortable because you really want to get the message through, but you can see from their face that they're not there. They didn't get any of it.
Right.
So it's just difficult.
Agreed.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's different ways, there's, to me, simple is the new sexy. And so we can put together, pitch trailers or pitch videos with slides and animations and graphics. And, if it's less than 3 minutes, then you've got them hooked and they're going to have a million questions. But yeah, I mean, there's, and again, there's workarounds for even that too. And it's like, hey, we get on a Zoom pitch and it's like, hey, all right, I'm just gonna do a screen share. I'm gonna show you a 3 minute video.
Yeah.
And then, and really it's like, you can only prepare so much. And then it's like, okay, here you go. I'm stepping back.
Just look.
Because
no, I get it.
The worst.
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
The worst thing they could say is no.
True.
It's not like they're going to take away your ability to make films. It's not like they're going to, like there's that stereotype, like you're never going to work in Hollywood again. And no one has that power.
I don't believe that. I honestly don't believe that. I think that every person in Hollywood that made it big is being rejected at least 100 times before they actually had their first chance.
Oh yeah.
So I don't believe it. I actually think rejection is a part of the process to get there. Now, if you have the strength to actually go through rejection and keep fighting to get there, now that's what makes a difference. If you don't have that strength and first couple of rejections, you're like, oh man, I'm done. This is not my thing. This is not for me. Then that's it,
Yeah. And from an actor standpoint, and I brought this up a number of times on the show before, I'll go into an audition just assuming that I'm not going to get it. I'm relaxed. I'm just having a good time because at the end, because really I had nothing going on that day anyway. Obviously I didn't have a gig if I'm coming to this audition.
Yeah.
So I'll go to the audition and I'll do the read and I'm putting forth my best effort. But I'm going in there. I have this mentality that I'm going to go in there assuming I'm not going to get it. So, and I'm relaxed. I'm having a good time. I'm not stiff. I'm not stressed out. I'm not fumbling over my lines. I'll read the lines like the way I've always remembered something is as if I'm reading something or if I'm rehearsing something, I'm doing it as if I'm watching a movie. Even more so, I'm watching a movie with me in it, because I've always remembered every scene and every line from every movie. And so that's kind of my natural memory technique. And so when I go into the audition, I've already watched this mental movie of me in the scene, and I'm just replaying that back. And I'm re-quoting the lines from the movie, right? Because that's really what we're doing if we're rehearsing lines, if we're memorizing lines. And so my acting technique is be comfortable in front of the camera, memorize your lines, connect to the character. And if I've done all three of that, I just go in there and say, there's a 50-50 shot. I'm gonna get this or I'm not. So just go in there, do it, be relaxed, have fun doing it. And I don't have anything else going on today. So aside from the little bit of gas that I had to burn driving here, I'll meet up with some buddies, go to happy hour, and half the time I'd be at happy hour with my buddy and I got a text like, you got a call back or you booked it. Or I get a text. I'm with my buddies. I'm with my buddies having a beer at happy hour, and I get a text and they say, hey, we loved you. We went in a different direction, but we're going to definitely keep you on file. And then a week later, I got another role on the film based on the audition for character A. I got a smaller, different role in the same production, but still I got a gig, you know?
Yeah, you still got something. I get it.
And sometimes you don't get anything at all. And, but
you just move on.
But I didn't have anything else going on that day. I would have just sat on the couch watching TV, or I went and I did an audition. And, you know, sometimes I'll send notes like, hey, do you have any suggestions for what I should have done? And this is 9 times out of 10, they said they were just looking for somebody else. You were great. And I'm like, honestly though. And they were like, no, honestly, you were great. They were just looking for something else. Yeah. And that, and as far as, you know, a script goes,
it happens.
As far as a script goes, as far as a movie idea goes, you know, like there's somebody, or a business pitch even, or anything that you're trying to pitch, because if you're auditioning, you're pitching yourself basically. But in anything you're pitching, that's just probably not what they're looking for at the time. We got enough crime shows on our channel. We're looking for sci-fi, but you pitch it to the next person. Oh, we need a new crime show. Boom, you're like the #1 show on that network in a year from now. So
yeah, no, I totally get it. My first pitch was an event to remember, literally. I was in this mentorship program, and, you know, my mentor was like, well, the most important part of being a writer, you know, direct filmmaker in general, is to pitch your idea. And I didn't even know what pitch was. So I learned. He brought me into this Philly camp. It was Philly camp in Philadelphia. And we were there, and he was like, okay, so they're going to call your name. You're going to go up there and you're going to pitch your idea. And there's a lot of people just watching you. So it was like a pitch exercise kind of thing with a lot of people there. So one thing is pitching to, you know, an executive producer, and it's just me and him and her, and it's just different. One thing is pitching in front of a crowd the first time you pitch ever, when you barely know English. So they called me up, and I was already sweaty, like my shirt was wet. Mm-hmm. I get up there, and they were like, oh, since your mentor registered for only 1 person, but you guys are 2, because I was me and another student, you guys are 2, so, well, let's split the time in half between the 2 of you. So we got half of the time that other people got for their pitch. Yeah. Just roughly guess how much time was that?
5 minutes.
That was 2.
2 minutes. Okay.
2 minutes to pitch a movie to a crowd when you barely remember English in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. So the first thing I said, I apologized. The first thing was that I apologized, and I said, if sometimes I say an Italian word, to just, you know, make me understand that I'm speaking another language right now. So they start laughing, and I pitched my idea, and it went pretty well. The whole room reacted very positively, and it was scary as hell. My second pitch, though, I realized that most of the uncomfortable feeling about that pitch was my attitude towards it. Yeah. I should have just went there, just say a couple words, 2 minutes, that's it, and move on, you know? Now that I have more experience, I know that. But in that moment, it was traumatizing. I was like looking at that clock like it was eating me up, because they had a countdown. And it was just scary. Yeah. I think the last time I felt like that was in high school. So it was really scary and really bad experience, but it helped me develop a way of pitching that was way better and different, and definitely more calm and not sweaty.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I find it humorous, and I find it opening. I find I open up more when I start to self-deprecate a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm a little honest about my shortcomings. If I'm, if you know, humility and humor with maybe, you know, the fact that I think I have like a slight stutter, or I'm thinking too fast, but it's not, I can't spit it out as fast as I'm thinking it. I might, goof on myself, goofing on yourself of your negative, habits, on your shortcomings. I do it all the time with the show. Nobody's watching, but I mean, apparently 5 people are watching this live, but maybe more will watch. And but
Yes, I'm sure.
but
I'm
people,
sure.
but people, people enjoy humor. People enjoy, watching other people's, goof on themselves, on their shortcomings, because
Yeah.
everybody else, they know they have their own shortcomings. And if you goof on yourself for having the same shortcoming that your viewer or your audience has, then they're going to appreciate that more. And there's going to be that bond, that kinship, where they're like, I really dig this guy because, he's a goofball. He's really
Yeah.
insecure with himself. So am I. And they're going to watch that. You got.
It's the same thing with a character. When you write a character as a writer, you want people to relate to the character, not to be like, oh man, this dude is perfect. Like, no, nobody wants to see that. Who wants to see? Do you want to see a movie with a guy that never gets it wrong and always does the right things? No. You want to relate to the character. And I actually, that kind of connects to probably one of the shows I'm watching right now. Well, I don't like to watch TV, mostly because I probably have a million things to do instead of that.
Yeah.
And the moment when I do watch, I fall asleep. So I don't get to watch much. I do like to, when someone is like, maybe on set, someone says, oh, there is this new show. It's so awesome. You got to watch it. So I just watch it. I put it on and whatever. Let's see what this is all about. And I recently started the Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
And I have to say, I was very surprised. And it was such a pleasant thing to watch.
Yeah.
Because while you have this idea of these group of people that are supposed to be perfect, they're literally a mess. Like, they're a hot mess.
Yeah.
And yes, they're superheroes, they're superpowers, and they always get it wrong. No matter what they do or how many times they go back in time, they get it wrong. And I love that. It's relatable. It's like, that if I had a chance to go back in life and do something, I can't predict how it's going to go, even if I do it differently. It could still go wrong, And I relate a lot to the characters in that thing. And it was a pleasant surprise.
And yeah, I attempted to watch that, and I think something else came up. But I can agree. Cobra Kai, Netflix just picked up Cobra Kai. It started off as a YouTube Red series, but so Cobra Kai follows the Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid trilogy. And what they focused on, it's really Johnny Lawrence's story. So in the very first Karate Kid, the blonde guy that was kind of bullying Danny LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's character, and he lost to Danny at that karate tournament in the first Karate Kid. And so it picks up with him, 35 years later, 40 years later, however long it is. And, he's just struggling with life, odd jobs here and there, functioning alcoholic almost, just bitter at life, can't keep a relationship going. And, he finds the inspiration to restart the karate school that he was at in high school called Cobra Kai. And
I remember that.
But, it's just this guy screwing up left and right. They call it, they nicknamed the show Bad Sensei. It's kind of like the movie Bad Santa with Billy Bob Thornton, but Bad Sensei. But Cobra Kai is just, it's definitely a throwback, and it's also, if you were a fan of the original trilogy, you're seeing all these actors reprising their roles. You're seeing all these actors pop up and you're happy to,
it does feel weird a little bit.
It's definitely like
you see time pass. You remember when you were a kid and you were watching that, and then all of a sudden, like, oh man, they got old. Wait, I got old too.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing, someone's mom is still in the show. Seeing the older sensei, come back and still, in the show playing the same character, but all sorts of different things happen to them between 1984 and 2018, and it's like a nostalgia, fanboy, kind of awesomeness. But at the same time, these guys, like you said, these people are human and they screw up left and right, and you find that you've done that, you've made that mistake yourself, and
we all do.
And
There's no perfect human being.
Yeah,
not that I know of.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, what's next on the agenda for Giovanna? Next set of goals.
I want to keep going, that's for sure. I am moving forward. I have 3 shorts in pre-production, which one I wrote and other 2 I didn't. One of them I'm producing. I mean, I'm wearing different hats in all 3 of them, but definitely work. So we're not, just waiting for things to happen. I am actually playing for something big. I want to move to LA. So it's going to happen in May. And everything is planned out, because when you have a kid and you're a single parent, you can't just pack your bag and leave.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of saving, a lot of different things that you just put together. But like I said, I mean, I just love challenge. I never give up. That's one thing about me that I don't understand why giving up is even an option. And I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Just because I decided it has to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And yeah, so there are a lot of things going on, and I'm hoping to premiere Double Face soon. I'll let you know when that happens, definitely. And that's pretty much it.
And Double Face, that's your short.
Yes.
Yeah. Multiple personalities, you were saying, or mental illness of some sort.
It's a mental illness. Yeah. It's about paranoid schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. So that's why when I said 6-7 months of pre-production was mostly on researching and talking to people that actually suffer from paranoid schizophrenia and trying to understand, what goes on in their head and how you can portray it on the screen so that the audience of, different backgrounds and different stories in life can understand, and can understand also the difference between a person that is depressed or sad or has struggle in life and doesn't know how to cope, with a person that actually is sick.
Yeah.
Not that depression is not an illness. I'm sure it is, but when we talk about something so serious like paranoid schizophrenia, is people that goes through therapy and medication and a lot of things and still don't have it under control. Like there's no medication strong enough that can really control something like that. So to me, these people are heroes. Like I talk to, people that are really struggling with this kind of disease and this kind of illness. And they've been struggling since they were like 5.
Yeah.
And now they're 30. And you think like, you watch movies of heroes, right? With laser guns and that's great and that's awesome. But then you see these people that live in the shadow because they think they have to hide that they have a mental illness, when to me, they're heroes. Like, can you imagine being in a constant battle with yourself, thinking that everybody's out there to get you, to hurt you, every single day for like 20 years? And like keep fighting every day? That's to me is a hero. That right there. There's no break. There is no time that they're off. There's no vacation in Hawaii. You know what I mean? It's constantly fighting and never giving up. And that was a story that I wanted to tell. At the same time, I didn't believe in I got a lot of different visions about what mental illness is. And there's clinical vision and there is, just normal people saying their own opinion. And some people said to me, well, yeah, mental illness, but you can pray and it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, let's not talk about our religious views or anything like that. But I asked, if you break your leg, do you pray it to go away or you go get a cast on?
Yeah.
Then if your brain is damaged, if your brain is hurt, why would you have to pray it away just because you can't see it? You
Right.
need a doctor, you need to seek help. So maybe people that suffer from, mostly teenagers that suffer from these kind of things, don't feel the need to hide it because people think they're crazy, and maybe they look for help. And we get this suicide rate for teenagers go down, and like a lot of other issues to go down just by accepting that it's real, it's something that it's there and it needs help. Just praying it away is not going to work.
Right.
And I mean, maybe the example of the leg was a little extreme, but it is true.
No, it's a good point.
So
no, I get that.
I wanted to show that. I wanted to show this difference between a person that may be sad and prays it away and feels better. Then that's great. That happens. But a person that is sick needs help. And we just got to get in the vision of that mental illness. If you see a person that is, has a broken arm or is just got surgery, you don't isolate them and say, oh, they're crazy.
Right.
So
absolutely, yeah.
that's something I'm very passionate about, and I wanted to put out there for everybody to watch. I'll keep you posted about what happens to it.
Absolutely. Well, which leads me into my my next arena is there a last point or a last bit of advice you wanted to put out there for our viewers?
Oh, in the last few months, I had the pleasure to actually mentor myself 2 kids just out of film school, which, please, if anyone is watching that is in a film school or is a professor, please don't take it on me. It's just from experience what I've gathered.
Mm-hmm.
These kids have no idea what's a camera report, how to fill it out, and they're coming out of film school. They don't know how to budget. They don't know how to schedule. They don't know anything. But they come out of film school. They start going on and on about 2 billion different cameras they know and the brands, but that's not going to make you a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You can open a shop for that. But if you want to be a filmmaker, then you got to, learn things. And I got these 2 kids with me and I taught them things and they were so happy. My advice to these kids that come out of school or any filmmaker that is starting in general is, well, first of all, never giving up for any reason. Rejection in this business as an actor, as a filmmaker, it's personal preference or need. If a producer rejects your script, it's not because it stinks. It's because it's looking for something else. Mm-hmm. Or, maybe he was looking for a gay romance and you gave him a straight romance. And it's romance, but it's not what he's looking for. Mm-hmm. Maybe they had an actor that they wanted to give work, one of the famous stars that they wanted, and the script just doesn't fit that actor in particular, mm-hmm. So it's eliminated. It doesn't mean you were bad. It means it's not your time. It's not your chance. Yeah. You will get another one. So that would be my advice, because a lot of kids just give up, they just write something, they think it's awesome, they put it out there, the criticism comes like dogs at him, and they just give up, and that's it. And another advice that I give is be respectful on set. You are the director, and that's great, and you call the shots, whatever you want. But without the sound guy and his attention to details, your movie will sound like crap. without your cinematographer, maybe you can pay attention to a lot of details that he can. So just be respectful, be open, listen. Maybe you don't agree, but just listen. Actors, oh my goodness, I heard stories. Why does a director have the need to be mean to an actor? That blows my mind. The actor is trying to make your idea come to life. But if you don't give them the materials, if you don't give them the clear picture of what your idea is, then the shame is not on the actor, the shame is on you.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to go yell at somebody, go in the bathroom, look at the mirror and start yelling at yourself.
Right.
Because dude, you are failing at your job.
Yeah.
If an actor doesn't portray your character the way you want it, it's your fault, not theirs. And that's something, you know, a new director should know. Before yelling at someone else, just, you know, do some self-talk and try to understand what you're doing wrong.
Yeah. And which touches on a point that I brought up a number of times, is that the most important thing at the end of the production wrap and editing wrap, is the film. It's not the director's ego. It's not, you know, the actor's ego. It's not, you know, tensions on set. At the end of the day, the most important thing is this movie and making a good movie.
Exactly.
And so, you know, a good example is the film Usual Suspects. And the director was getting real annoyed with the main guys. And there was that whole lineup scene where they were, you know, in a lineup and they were told to read that line, and they kept, and it was hilarious. He kept the scene in there, but they were tired. I think Benicio del Toro farted in the room, and Stephen Baldwin like smacked him, and they were just goofing off, and the director's losing it, and he's yelling in the mic, you know, read the line. He's getting flustered with him. But then he watched it back, and he's like, the whole thing stays in the movie. It's so funny in hindsight, but you know, as a director, all the way down to like a PA, but you know, I've dealt with DPs who thought they were king shit, and I'm like, dude, relax, man. You're on the same movie I'm on. At the end of the day, you're working on this piece of shit just like I am.
Exactly.
So let's make this the best piece of shit we can. Because if you're, oh, but I've done this, I'm like, I don't care what you have done. You're working on this right now. This ultra low budget indie film, you know, that's great that you shot, you know, a bunch of episodes for whatever show that was on whatever big network, you know, 10 years ago. You're working on this now. This is
I had people coming to my set, and actors mostly, being almighty because they've been an extra in a Netflix show, or they've been an extra in a Universal Studio production.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what was your character name? Oh, I was trash carrier number 1. And I'm like, okay, so first of all, don't ever put that on your resume, because it gets shredded.
Yeah.
Extra work, it's great. You get experience, you get to see how big set works, and that's awesome. But you're not God sent because you were trash walker number 1 on my set.
Yeah.
Because I have actors that maybe have worked only in indie productions, ultra low budget indie productions, but they have been lead all the time. So they might have more experience than your trash walker will ever have.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is, sometimes people just get these names and, oh, I was a PA. No, I was a number 43 PA on the movie Glass that was filmed in Philadelphia. And I'm like, good for you, but it doesn't count anything.
Yeah.
What did you do?
And now they're, you know, a DP, or now they're, you know,
you know, they try to tell you how to do your work, and I get it. You know, you did that, and that's awesome. You know, I've been working as a PA in some pretty good sets. I won't tell you that, because to me, that's not teaching anything. besides the fact that, yeah, I started from the bottom too, like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you make connections. That's how you be humble, and then you build your career.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I list on IMDb, I have just about everything listed on IMDb to show that experience and to show that I've, you know, and also to show the perseverance and the persistence. But you can see on my IMDb that it's grown, and the actor characters went from guy at bar number 2 to Detective Smith or Detective Jones, you know, an actual character name.
Yes.
Or you know, the production credits went from production assistant on a big thing to assistant director or director on a, you know, mid-level thing or ultra low budget thing. But you see those titles grow. And, you know, from, you know, another 20 years from now, that's something to look back on and say, wow, my career's progressed.
Yeah.
But I agree as far as an acting resume. If you're just starting off, yeah, keep trash picker number 1 and guy at bar number 2. Keep it on that resume to show like you've been doing something. But those can get bumped for that bigger role, and those can get bumped for that bigger role.
But they don't give you the experience to get a lead.
That's true.
It doesn't work like that, because if you don't have lines, like acting with lines is so different than acting without lines.
Absolutely.
So you can be the trash walker 27 times and, you know, get all that on your resume, make it 5 pages. But as a director, I open this resume and I'm like, okay, how many speaking roles does this person have?
Right. And also, you know, that guy that's been an extra, you know, for 10 years on, you know, 50 films does have experience. And I would, and I might actually want to hear, you know, some of his concerns, some of his notes, but there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
But it's a different kind of experience.
Yeah. Don't act like king shit on my set if that's really the only experience you have.
Exactly.
And there's a number of, you know, wannabe king shit actors that I've worked with and I've, you know, dealt with that, you know, they had like a bit role on Wonder Woman 1984 in DC. They even got a picture on their gram, you know, with Gal Gadot. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, listen, I've worked on the big stuff. I'm like, do you have Gal Gadot's number? Can you hit her up right now? Crickets. I was like, okay, yeah. Dude, just let's focus on this scene on this movie. All right, bro. I mean, I get it. You've met some celebs. That's cool. You got a picture with a couple of celebs. That's cool. If you could call her on the number, then I'll give you an executive producer credit if you can get her in the film. I don't have her number, dude. I know you don't. So you know, stay in your lane, you know?
I think even if he or she didn't know and have her number, I don't think that makes anyone superior to anyone else.
Oh, true.
If you audition for a movie for my movie, let's say, right? And you have worked in a million different sets. Like, I had this experience. I filmed my short film Secret Nights about, what is that? Oh my God, this COVID is messing with my brain and dates. But I believe it was like 2 years ago. And I had Kenan McGregor to act on set. And, you know, he's been in big production, he's being in X-Men, and he's being in, you know, he wanted to be in my movie. So in that moment, whatever he's done in the past, if he worked with Scorsese or it's none of my business. You want to be in my movie, I'm your director. I get respect. And he did. He was highly professional with me. He gave me the respect that I needed. He listened to me, he listened to my suggestions. Yes, my experience compared to his, it's minimal, but he was in my movie. So you be humble when you start a project with someone else, and you respect who is what and what's happening on set. Yeah. That's the most important thing. I don't care if you go to dinner with Spielberg, if you are working with me, then you respect me. Same thing with me. I might have friends. I have friends in LA. They're pretty popular and, you know, pretty famous. I'm not gonna throw their names out there because nobody cares.
Right.
I'm still working, like you said, on that ultra budget film, So I just, get myself down a notch or two and just, go with the flow and just have a safe and happy environment. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Well, are there any socials, links, plugs you want to put out there?
Yeah, I mean, I am one of these people that usually use the same name and the same things because you can't remember. So, I mean, I'm on Twitter, Instagram. On Twitter, I'm at Films Giovanna, and on Instagram, I'm Giovanna Films. And I have a Facebook page, Giovanna Films, where I update every project, everything I do, sometimes even silly stuff that happened in my life. They're all out there.
Awesome. Well, Giovanna, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, and a lot of great advice, a lot of great stories, ideas, a lot of great substance for people to,
Hey, whenever you want, when this COVID is done, we're gonna get a booger together.
Okay. I love boogers, man. They're great. Well, yeah, Giovanna, thanks again. And to my viewers, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has, and you know what to do. Check us out next time.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.